That's what she said. And then you've got green and red alternating down in the corner. In that tray there. So right now it's recording everything that's going on the screen, and it's recording our conversation. You can deselect the microphone.
Did you start a file with a date or anything, or do you do that?
It'll do it at the end.
It'll
ask you what you want to call it at the end, and where to save it. Okay, Microsoft Edge, browser, Snapshot. Snapshot is the program, it also calls it track error. You'll see it referred to as track error and Snapshot in there.
Okay. Is it the same thing?
Yeah. I don't know where the name track error comes from. Maybe that's what they call the screen. The
Track error is the pilot system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is the program that runs the guidance for the line for flying lines. This is what the pilot sees, which you can see too, but it's the main guidance for what the pilot has to fly. It's on his screen.
Maybe on the old LiDAR system, they were separate on the old LiDAR system, connected via Cat5. So maybe it's just them using the old name.
Okay, so they will email you a mission pack. You'll get this information from whoever. If I get it and send it to you, hopefully we can get you guys that email directly. You'll have. I'll show you because I've been saving them as a PDF. Okay, so here's an example of an email they sent for a project called Pape Dawson. It's got a job number, location by Cleveland, Texas. This was by Houston. Vendor, some different contacts, which is stuff for Sam. You'll see some information that's not really pertinent to us. Survey collect kind of tells you how frequently the camera is taking a picture. Client will set base station on this one. So this one we didn't have to set those yellow Pelican cases up for the weather and the GPS. Aerial spec LiDAR with imagery in-house use only, image quality not important. For that particular one, all their client was interested in was the LiDAR data, the laser scanning data.
It turns out we've got to fly again.
Which we have to. The clouds were too low that day, so we have to refly on. And any notes. In the notes, he's often put things if there was any pre-coordination with ATC. Like he was saying, if you're in complicated airspaces, you want to pre-coordinate that. So if he's already kicked that off or is taking responsibility for it, he should be putting that in there. If he wants us to take responsibility, apparently it's blank, or he'll say, you need to make contact with that. So for you guys, that would be Jono making that contact.
Okay.
With you, potentially, you could help out with that, but Jono will be the main. You guys could talk that out if you're going to help.
It's a three-way conversation. There's no way that I'm just going to talk to air traffic and then not get you involved. So what I might get you to do is make the call while I'm doing something else, but there's no way that we go flying unless all three parties actually know what's going on.
But with your experience, you potentially could be helpful with that if he needs. But yeah, you guys would talk that. You guys would talk that. So far, all I've done to help him was maybe send one of the KML files or a screenshot with the lines like we were talking about, and then he has done the actual talking.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that requires my input really is the stuff that's not immediately obvious. So where all that Sam are looking at is the lines. They can't see the turning radiuses. They can't see where the final approach for an ILS runway is, for example. So the turning, if the turn at a specific altitude will take it through the ILS, for example, then clearly air traffic aren't going to be too happy about that. But if it's, for example, the runway's doing something like this, and we're over here somewhere going north-south, they couldn't give the tiniest shit. But if we're there going east-west, yes, clearly that's going to be an issue. And obviously the altitude's going to be an issue, so we need to potentially compare it to the approach plates, the SIDS, the stars, all that kind of jazz. So yeah, as I say, that has to be a conversation rather than we've made a phone call, we're good to go. No, it's got to be a three-way thing. We've got to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Also in the notes, he'll often put what that altitude is going to be. Well, what they're saying it's going to be. Sometimes it turns out different. Another way to see the altitude is sometimes there are some attachments on this. One, there's often 2 zip files and a KML file, which is the one that you can load up on Google Earth to see where these lines are. In the zip files, often the file name they'll make the name with some numbers for altitude and airspeed. So sometimes you'll see 2,400 AGL 135 knots in the file name. And often that matches what he put in the notes. Sometimes it's 100 or 200 feet different. But then they've also said, whatever we've put in here, the final authority is this Snapshot track air program. When you actually select the line and it tells you you need to be at 3,200 feet, not 2,600 feet. That's the altitude you fly because that's what it's all set up to record at.
Okay. But we don't know that until we get into the aircraft, we program the thing up, and then it bumps forward onto my pad, and all of a sudden, what it'll do is say, when you're parked on the apron, it'll say, right, you're 2,800 feet low. There's no, okay, well, it's reasonable to assume they want to fly at 2,800 feet AGL then. So then you work out what the altitude is, and you can work it out from there. Unfortunately, that's after you've had the conversation with air traffic control. So this can very easily send you in the wrong direction. So what we have to do is assume worst case scenario, which is not necessarily the lowest, because if you're high, that can be just as awkward as if you're low. So what we've worked out is an error band, if you like. So we say, well, okay, if they're saying 2,500 feet AGL, all right, and let's just say for the sake of argument, you got a 600-foot surface. Okay? So in theory, if you went by that, that should put you at 3,100 feet. Now ATC are normally happy plus or minus 100 feet with whatever you've been cleared at. All right, fine. The problem is that 2,500 feet could suddenly be 2,500 altitude, which means that you're now 600 feet lower than they thought you were going to be. And that could easily put you in conflict with other aircraft. And vice versa, you could find yourself higher. So if you find yourself, whatever the altitude is that we go on here, plus or minus whatever the elevation is, that then gives you an error band within which to operate. So if we negotiate a block with air traffic within that band, they're a lot happier than if you get airborne having said you're going to be at 3,000 feet, and oh, by the way, I need to be at 1,800. No, I can't give you that. So that's what we've been working at. And again, to be fair to Sam, this is not something they've really considered. You know, it's not on their radar as a potential threat, but it's something that we have to consider.
So on this one, the file attachments say 2,200 and 135. So that's an altitude, which should be an AGL, which is above ground level. You'll catch on to some of this lingo. You're in tune with some of that. You've been in planes a lot. AGL is above ground level. MSL is mean sea level.
Okay.
Which here, we're at 700 feet elevation here about. So 700 feet. You want to be clear on if we're talking about AGL or MSL. With SAM, all their stuff they've said should be given an AGL. So, but the pilot, his indications, aside from this program on his screen, are in MSL. So if you tell the pilot, okay, hey, we need to fly at 2,200, he has to work out, okay, well, elevation's 700 here. So I need to do 2,200 plus 700, and that's what I fly on my gauge.
And we never have an exact, obviously, measurement of where the surface is. There's a number of spotlights on the chart, so you can sort of go like that, but it will be within about 100 feet, and unfortunately the tolerance on the thing is within 100 feet. So, yeah. And particularly what they'll do is they'll pick one altitude for the entire, sort of cluster, if you like. So we found out the other day, the I-10 or whatever it was gently sloping downhill to the tune of about 500 feet over the length of the entire cluster. Mm-hmm. So as we were going down, the computer was saying down, 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 and all of a sudden we're in somebody else's airspace. Mm-hmm. So you can't just assume it's one height for the entire thing. We've got to stick some error bars on it, and have a look at the spot heights on the chart as to where the actual the lines actually start and finish. So this is where this overlay that we've been using comes in quite handy, because it comes up with a number of spot heights which Google Earth doesn't. Now, all Sam look at is Google Earth. They don't see the FAA chart overlay. But if we've got that, we can then come up with some more detailed error bars as to where we need to be operating.
Yeah. So again, that's planning stuff that he needs to look at on the ground, and you can maybe help him out with on the ground before you take off. When you take off, you'll be looking at the program that gives the altitude guidance, and it'll tell you for this line you need to be whatever. And so that number that this was telling him, each line was getting slightly lower and lower, which was maintained
along. Well, it wasn't a problem in the end, and as it turns out, it could have been a problem because it actually took us into Kelly's airspace. But as it turns out, we were only 200 feet into their airspace. We started at 3.5 or whatever it was. We drifted down to about 3.1 by the end of it, and the top of their airspace was 3.2. So the San Antonio controller was like, well, I can't clear you into that, but I can have a word with Kelly for you, and which they very kindly did. But we can't count on that each time. They were within their rights to say, well, no, go ahead and call Kelly. Well, hang on, I'm halfway through a bloody run here, so now you've got to renegotiate and all the rest of it.
Okay.
So, it's, like I say, this is something that you can potentially spot during planning, and we need to do all we can to try and breathe the shit out of this before we go flying.
Yeah. So you'll get this email, and you'll want to download the attachments onto this laptop, and then you'll put those. We'll try and do this in order of how you'd do it to get ready to go flying. In this folder called Reigl Projects.
Reigl Projects.
Reigl is the company of the sensor. So I've made this folder, Reigl Projects. And inside there, we've got folders from the different projects, and they're labeled after their project name. So what I've also done is that email, I've tried to get in the habit of this, is to go to print this email, but then click save, print as PDF. You've done that before? You know about that? Do you know about that? Okay, print as PDF, and then put it in that folder also, so I have that there in case I need to reference it. It's got the job number, which is something that's on that log sheet that we'll go over more to. Project number. So you'll save those files.
And that folder is underneath Reigl Projects as well.
Reigl Projects.
No.
And so two of them are zip files. You know what zip files are? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So they're just compressed files, so you want to unzip those into that folder so that the files are free. And so like this one, I guess I don't need to save the zip files in here, but so these were that was one zip file that they emailed, this is the other one, and then the KML. Then there's the email that I saved as a PDF, printed to PDF. So unzipped was this one and this one. And one of them, you go in, and it's like a folder directory that Sam has, that they have set up for the sensor to save the different sets of data into. Reigl RAW, that's from the laser scanner. Camera RAW is from the camera. And then down here, the only one that we really need to deal with is the .rpp file. This is like the project file that when we get to it later in RiAquire or RiAquire, will load up to load that particular project.
And that's file we're loading in the system out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
The other file out of the things that they send when we unzip is often a separate folder.
What's the extension on that?
RPP.
RPP.
And I think, think one thing that's nice is when you go to load project, it only shows you RPP files. Unless that gets selected to all files or something. So the other folder, this one is labeled 2200, 135, and so on. So that's got the supposed altitude and max airspeed. You open that. That only has one file in it. It's an MDB file. This is the file that you will use in the track air system, the Snapshot program, which has the guidance for the pilot. So So that's like the flight plan file. The other one is like the project file. So we've got those two on there, on this computer, in an appropriate folder in there. The other thing, let me make sure that I don't take this with me when I do go, is a USB memory stick. So this is Mile High, and that'll stay with the equipment. But anyone will do. You want to put those same files onto here, because to get the flight plan file to his screen, it doesn't come from this computer to there. You have to load it on there separately, and so
That's the MDB file we need to put on there.
MDB,
and the RPP file on the
just MDB.
Just the MDB.
Yep. So he's got a little. It's sort of like a Microsoft-based rugged book tablet thing. That's like network cabled into the system. I can show you this. You'll plug this into it, turn it on, open the same program. It'll look like a Windows desktop thing. It's Windows based with a touch screen. You open up Snapshot. And you'll see this exact screen. You go to import or update projects. Okay. I don't know how far I can go into this without being connected to anything. Anyway, what you would see next, we might not get to see it because we're not plugged in, is you would basically see a file explorer where you would find this USB stick. It'll show it as like USB memory or USB external drive something. And you go in. I would save it. I try to save it just like we do on that one with the Reigl projects folder, and have them separated by the project name, and have that MDB file in there. And you'll select that, import it, and then when you come out of that, you'll close that. Yeah, it's just going to spin here forever, isn't it?
Now, do you only want to have one MDB file on there at a time, or do you want to leave them all on there?
You can have all the projects you want piled up on this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I haven't deleted anything off this, so all the ones that we've done so far are on here.
Okay.
And then if they've emailed like 3 or 4 projects out, I'll just go ahead and put them all on there.
So that way you're just ready to go every
Yeah.
time. Okay.
When he gets done with them on his screen up there, is he keeping them or is he deleting?
Yeah, we haven't deleted anything off of that either.
Everything's up there.
No. In this workflow packet, it does show you this. Oh, here we go. So you come to this, locate the files to import, and then you can go through desktop Reigl projects. Oh, oops. Dallas IH30, let's say. Open that folder. There's the MDB.
Okay.
So you say, okay, yeah, open that. And then it throws it down here. And then when you would apply it, maybe this will let me go pretty far here. It's acting like it will. We'll see what it does here. So apply it, then you go back out to this screen, which is that first one. Then you go to that first selection that was marked under normal operation, operator client terminal.
No, that's it.
Okay. And you click OK. It's waiting for connection. Okay, so now we might not be able to go any farther. But then it'll bring you to a screen where it asks you which one do you want to fly, basically. And you'll find that one that you just imported, or whichever one you're ready to fly, I guess, and select it. That's not going to
And again, we're doing this all on the ground before we ever get
This
in
will
there.
be, yeah, while you're sitting there. Engines will be running at this point, but you're not going anywhere. It's not going to connect to a terminal because we're not hooked up. Once you have that loaded in, then you'd minimize that screen. Yeah, that's fine. The other thing we need to do before we get too far here is open up the browser here. Microsoft Edge is what they have. And we're going to go, I made a shortcut, well they made a shortcut for it, for the IP address of the sensor system, which will be plugged into the back of this in the Ethernet spot with the Ethernet cable. So you'd go to the IP address for that, which is not going to go, it's not connected. And we do have a little blip on here under Format System Drives. Using Internet Explorer browser, there's the IP address. If it gets erased from here or whatever, you can type it in. And you just type that into the browser bar. And if it's all hooked up right, it'll take you to a screen where you, among other things, see this stuff. The password is I can. I guess some motivational speaking there. And then you're gonna
With a blank user?
yeah, all you have to type in is I can and then click login.
Okay.
So maybe it's not really a password, maybe it is just more of the user. Yeah. But all you have to type in is that. Log in, and then it'll let you see these drives that you have in the data recorders. And you'll go down, and any drives that have any percentage used on it, you'll tell it to format, to wipe it.
Right, wipe it. Right.
So it says format each drive available, and HD0 is usually the first one, HD1 is the second one. For some reason it starts at 0. So you don't have to change, you can leave it at log fs, whatever it has right there, and click format. And then you can see further down below that, it'll just say formatting. I don't think it gives you percentage, you just have to wait till it stops saying formatting. So do that for all those ones, all the drives. If they already say 0% used, you can just,
It's good to go.
yeah, it's good to go.
Okay.
If for some reason you're finishing a project from the day before, don't format it. Just keep just skip this step and let it keep adding into that drive.
Okay.
Okay, then you can close that. Snapshot is angry that we're not connected to anything. Okay, the next program I want to open up is RiAquire. Data acquisition software for the Reigl Airborne Scanner System. So the two main programs that we're using when we're flying is this one and the Snapshot tracker program. Okay, so you come to this. First thing, we go to the open project file folder up there, and it should come up in whatever the last folder you've been using was. So the Reigl projects. If it doesn't, find the Reigl projects folder where you have your project file stored. And so let's do, let's open one, Leonard Homa here. Open that, and you should see there were probably other files down here, but it's only showing me files that are ending in RPP. Okay. It'll show you all the other folders, but the RPP file should be just out there by itself underneath all this. So it should let me open this up. Oh, cool. I can see all this stuff. It's saved it all. Great. Okay, so then if you haven't flown this project yet, you won't have anything in here, but this saved what we've added to this already, so that's great. So the first thing you'll do is, once this is open, is go to this sort of almost like laser burst symbol here, and that's initialize. So it'll initialize all the overall system. You click that, and it'll start connecting up to the scanner, the GPS, the camera. You have on the side here some sort of status information. The top one is for your position, GPS. Then you have channel 1 and channel 2. Those are for the laser scanner. Then you have the camera right here. And then this one, GPS sync status. I haven't had to do much with that. Oh, so down here you can see what percentage of the drive is used for your file storage. Notice that one of the things scrolling across, it'll tell you how full your drives are. These boxes will change colors depending on their status. They're grayed out if there's no connection, basically. Orange if it's in like warning, and then green when it's good to go.
Have you ever run into an issue with it completely using up a drive during a flight?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay.
If you do, from my experience,
Oh yeah,
you're
What have
kind
you
of
got?
done.
Okay.
You have to go. Well, you have to go land,
Swap
restart
out
it
the
again, put a clean drive in there, and redo a static.
Okay.
Redo this.
Yeah, and I don't know about this software, but I know on the old Trimble, if the drive filled up halfway through, it would corrupt everything.
Yeah.
In that job, it wouldn't
You'd
record
have to
everything
start
up to
that
that job.
job.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let you guys know if we're getting pretty close.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens if we're not connected to anything. We'll do. There you go. Reds. We're not connected to anything. Okay. Yeah. We're not connected to anything. You also have a running sort of log down here of messages with timestamps, and you can scroll through and see what the messages are. So the next thing you would do, if we come down here, should be to start the position. Yep, initialize the pause system. So that is this globe right here. If we're actually connected in the system, you'll see this globe with the, here's this green color,
Little green bubble.
Yeah, little green bubble to start that. Does it show you what you'll see? No, it doesn't. You'll see a window pop up that will show you sort of the satellite constellation and how many satellites are in view right now. GPS, Galileo, a bunch of stuff. So it does mention, confirm tracking both GPS and GLONASS satellites. So you'll see a number by both of those. Yep, that looks fine. And you'll click, I believe it's Start Wizard. And it'll ask if you want to start the static session. And you'll click yes. Yes, I do, thank you. And it'll start a 5-minute countdown. And you can't let the plane move within that 5 minutes. Well, he can't.
Alright, it takes me 5 minutes to get my shit together.
Yeah, we're not really holding up anything anyway. So great, you started that 5 minutes, and they want you to note that down. So they don't have a slot for that in this log, but you can jot it down. I've just jotted it down along the top. All right, static start, and then at what clock time that was. Okay, then we open the scanner settings. And the scanner settings one, it almost looks like a battery, but I realize that it just looks like the trash can shape that the scanner is, sort of, with its end sticking out of the hole. With the gear on it. So you click on that. Well, no, it won't show us anything. Oh, it kind of is. Scanner settings. They'll give us usually 2 settings on here when they make up these project files for us. One called ground test, and the one that is the actual project settings. The ground test, we want to put on ground test. You can see it says 0.5%. That's sort of how strong is the laser going to be shooting when you do this ground test. They just do it really weak when you're on the ground. I guess they're worried about reflecting back up if you're so close to the ground. Potentially.
Quite powerful lasers in there.
I bet. Yeah. When you do this ground test, you don't want anyone laying under there, even with it set on this. I guess if you had it on, I imagine it would have burned something if you had it on 100% and you had something down there. Set on ground test. Click Apply All. You should within about 5 seconds, I've seen it take, Over on here, GPS sync status under channel 1 and channel 2, where it's kind of scrolling synchronization signal right there, you'll see it start bearing across this label here, ground test, 100 feet, 100 knots, blah, 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 5%. You'll see that scrolling across. So you want to check that on both of those. It has that to show that this did successfully get applied to the scanner.
Okay.
The other thing is you want to click on housekeeping. It won't show us. In housekeeping, one of the items, maybe within the first 10 items, it'll say scanner on time. And that tells you a cumulative amount of time that this scanner has ever been on. So right now it shows like 1 day, 18 hours, 3 minutes and 2 seconds, something like that. And that's another thing that they want us to jot down on this flight log here. So you'll write down whatever that figure is, and I'll just shorthand it like 1D, 5H, 3M, whatever, 2S for days, hours, minutes, seconds.
And is there a spot on this for that, or do we just put it?
No,
at the top as well?
just been doing it at the top.
Okay.
Okay, then we don't need that anymore for the moment. So then what you would do next is you would initialize it. Where's that one? So start all scanners. So that's the one, just like you did with the GPS, the globe with the green circle. You'll go to the scanner with the green circle to start it. And then you click on that. Within, again, about maybe 5 seconds, on top of this scanner system are 2 red indicator lights that should turn on. One for each individual scanner in there, laser scanner. Also, another thing I didn't show you, which would be good to show you out there, is right by the data recorder boxes is sort of an emergency laser stop button, cutoff switch, almost like a fuel cutoff switch. So for whatever reason you need to kill the laser, they haven't given me a clear indication of times you would need to, oh my gosh, stop the laser now. But there's an option to do that there. But on that are another 2 red lights. So I take a look at the top of the scanner. Yep, those red lights are on. They're also on this cutoff switch. And that shows you that the laser is working. So then once you get that, you can click the scanner with the red icon to stop it. Oh, the other thing, down in these messages, you'll see it say, basically, well, it says the wording here. It'll change to working state. So when it's working, it's on, it's active. And then when you click stop, it'll say something like change to standby state or change stopped working state. Okay, so you've proved that the scanner can turn on and off. The other part of the system is the camera, right? So now we're going to test the camera. So we go to camera settings. Great. To do the test, on this first screen we've got camera configuration. And it usually initially comes up to interval 3 seconds. The other option is external high. For the test, you want it on interval 3 seconds. Click apply all. Within a short amount of time, down on this little camera status, you should see scrolling across interval 3 seconds to show that it is applied. Okay, great. Then you'll click on start camera, the camera symbol with the green light on it. But then there's another one, the camera symbol with the pencil, right here, which I think that was one of the things that this is missing that they'll get on here. So right after log camera data, I made a note on mine, then start logging, and I just made the camera symbol with a pencil just for myself. So that'll actually start logging the camera. So what it'll start doing once you click that, if it's working right, is it'll start taking a picture every 3 seconds. So over here, on this right sub window, you'll start seeing what the camera's getting. So if the cover's off and it's light enough, you should see some sort of ground. If you don't, is the cover off?
A few fields because of that.
Oh really?
Oh shit! I didn't take the covers off.
Go find a field somewhere.
Yeah.
damn it, after airborne.
Which you can do in a helicopter, but in a plane,
Right.
you have to come back to it.
Right,
Yeah, that's an embarrassing mistake.
right.
Is the cover still on or not? Yeah, I definitely took it off. Look, I can see it there in the back. Okay, maybe it's just too dark and the camera settings are for brighter conditions. Maybe because under the plane is shadow, it might be blacktop. So you can go take it out of logging. So you'll click on the red pencil one. Take the camera out of the working state, so stop camera. Come down here to, well actually, if you're just changing the settings, you don't have to stop the camera, you just have to take it out of the logging state. So click the stop button with the pencil, and you can come to settings here, and in this window you'll see shutter speed, aperture, ISO,
Right.
white balance.
And you're never gonna adjust outside the min and max settings.
Right,
Well,
yeah,
that's
so if you notice down here, well, I guess for the test you could, but for any part of the actual job, they don't want you
Right.
outside of these min-max settings that we've got here. So recommended min-max settings, programs in manual, white balance, daylight, aperture forward, and so on there. Shutter minimum, it's motion blur. If you have the shutter open too long with us going 140 knots, okay, you might get more let more light in, but yeah, you get some streaking. ISO max. The ISO, the higher you have it, it'll brighten up the picture, but it's sort of artificially doing it, and so the more you boost that up, you can start getting what they'll call like noise in the picture. So if you go higher than that, you might get to the good brightness that you like, but it'll be sort of a lower quality image. Okay, so what could you do if it was too dark because the plane shadow and blacktop, to see if you can get some sort of, okay, yeah, I can see there are some cracks in the ground. What could you do with these numbers to brighten that up, aside from raising the ISO number?
Change the shutter speed.
Shutter
Yeah, right.
speed.
Bigger aperture.
Okay, change the shutter speed or change the aperture. So change the settings. You could go, pretty far just to get something. It's okay if it's overexposed, as long as you want to see, does it even work? Can I make out anything there? Okay, so change that. Tell the camera to start logging, and it'll start taking a picture every 3 seconds again. So okay, yeah, I can make out there's a crack in the ground, that I'm getting something here. So then tell it to stop, and then put in the settings what you think might be good for that day. So for today, I would put in these recommended sunny day settings. And actually what we ended up with on the day that we tested these sensors with Sam in the plane with us, we got 5.6, a slightly different number on the ISO. I would put next to ISO 125. It was a nice bright day like this, around midday, and the ISO at 25 with the other numbers they have, they said where the histogram was right where he would like it. So I'll set those to what I think is going to be good. If it's an overcast day, obviously you might need to brighten it up. It might come out too dark with these settings. And at that point, I'd leave this at interval 3 seconds. Before you get to the actual start of a line, we do want this switched back into external high. This is sort of the automatic mode, where instead of it taking a picture every 3 seconds, it'll take it when it's told to by the project file.
Right, okay.
And so they've programmed in, whatever exact timing that they want a frequency to get it.
First level's for testing on the ground.
Yeah.
And then the other one's for.
But
airborne.
you should leave it in at the interval 3 seconds, because once you are done with all this on the ground stuff, once you take off, you might be 10 minutes out, an hour out, wherever to the site. Along the way, you want to see, well, how are these settings for these lighting conditions?
So you do another test.
So once you get up to whatever a similar altitude to what you're going to be, and over similar features on the ground, tell it to start taking pictures again, and take a look at what you're getting on the camera.
Right. Which is a camera ground test.
Yeah.
Right.
Further along, you've got a picture of the histogram, the little bell curve thing. So they said either centered or actually even left of center, as long as it's not getting cut off on the left. They're happy with that because their imagery guys can do stuff, like I said, to get the brightness up. But if you have it right of center and it's too bright, it's more difficult for them to bring it down and still have good
Right,
quality
they can only
image
bring down.
to pass on to the
Right, they can
customer
only adjust what we've recorded.
to get the highlights out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you get in the air somewhere along the way and try to take some pictures. Now you're over moving terrain, so every 3 seconds you'll see it kind of change a little bit because there's different things. If you're over a lot of concrete, it'll tend to make the histogram go more to the right than if you're over just dark forest. It's not as bright. So ideally, you'll get some sort of typical terrain, the typical features for what you'll be over. So the last ones we were flying, we had some Texas DOT highways. It's I-10, Interstate 10. Mm-hmm. So if you said, okay, yeah, it looks great, but all you're over is just dark forest, well, maybe wait till you get closer to the city and start firing it again once you're over built up areas and see how that looks, because it might not be good for that setting. Once you're happy with it and before you get to the lines, then you'll come back and change it to external high.
Yeah, is he going to let us know whenever we're starting to get close to the lines to make sure that we are all 100% good to go and everything like that, so that we're not still in the middle of checking or anything like that before we hit the lines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and plus he won't be able to start flying a line until you select the line.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. And if for some reason you had selected it and then you say, let me take a look at the pictures again, and you don't like it and you're about to get to the line, then just call on. Say, hey, stand by for a few minutes. I need to change the camera real quick.
Okay.
You come back, take it out of external high, 3 second interval, adjust that stuff.
Okay.
And then remember to click apply all, and you'll see the status change on the camera, and you should see external high start scrolling across. To change it from external high to the interval, you do have to stop the camera all the way. So the stop symbol with the pencil, which takes it out of the logging mode, but then you actually have to fully stop the camera with just the full-on red light on it.
Right.
Then it'll let you change the camera configuration here. But for just the settings like aperture, ISO, that stuff, you can do without stopping the camera all the way. If you, you'll see if you forget to do that, you'll see that it won't let you apply it. If you haven't kicked the camera down all the way, you just won't be able to. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it grays out and apply.
Yeah. Okay. So back to the ground. You've tested the camera. Okay, I can make out the ground. Fine. Leave it in the logging, so that's just the green light. So you can leave that in the green light position for now. The next page on this workflow, they've got some best practices, some things they want you to be doing. During line execution, sensor operator will be choosing lines for the pilot and Snapshot. Operator advises pilots of corrections to the aircraft flight profile during setup for line execution. Prior to sensor fire on line, the pause system should be well initialized. Okay, the pause system position, you'll see up in the top right box is about your positional accuracy of the GPS setup. This will be orange if it's not good enough to fly the line. It'll turn orange. One of the ones that would most likely kick it to orange is either not enough satellites or, well, one of the things that will affect first that it sounds like would happen is the yaw accuracy. The yaw accuracy needs to be down to below, the number below 0.075, which is scrolling through there. If it goes above that, this will be orange. So on the ground, this will be orange until you start moving. Once you start moving, usually shortly after he makes his turn, after taking off and everything, this has gotten, the plane's gotten moved around enough that it's figured out enough positional accuracy to get to green.
I'm remembering, what do you call him?
Robert Jones?
The guy that came, we did the Alouette,
Yeah.
where he was
Robbie
doing
Jones.
pretty aggressive
Yeah.
S-turns to get his gyros.
So far, this has done really well,
He was shut
and we
off.
haven't had to do anything. By the time, just from the normal maneuvering from taking off, this has been fine. Occasionally, if you've been going straight for a long time, the yaw accuracy will degrade and it'll kick to orange. So what you would have to do before you start the line is tell him to do some aggressive banking, which we did have to do that once. We did that once, but it didn't take much. He did one turn to the right, one turn to the left.
On the autopilot did it.
Yeah, in our case. Older systems, other systems, depending on the system, you might have to be more aggressive. But all he did was just a bank left and right, and it kicked to green. It, I don't know what you call that if you've been going straight for a while. It gets too used to what you're doing. I don't know what.
It's gotta have some
It was
precision.
actually laser lock.
Laser
It was a
lock.
laser gyro, apparently.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if it was laser lock, that's what we called it.
Sounds technical.
Sounds pretty technical. So that's what it means by well initialized on that one. Aircraft should be in a state of straight and level flight. That's him getting his lead in right. He tries to set up about 3 miles. So depending on the aircraft, how fast you're going, will determine how much of a lead in the pilot will want. So they'll try and get a nice steady lead in so that when he hits the line, he's already stable, versus turning and entering it right at the end of your turn. Aircraft should be at the specified AGL and speed. You can see that, he can see that. I can play a recording and show you what that looks like once we go through this here. Operator monitors sensor performance while in line. Sensor performance will be, are these all in the green? Is it actively logging? When you're flying, when it's taking pictures, you get the gray rectangles showing, and that's sort of like showing you the area that it's covering, the camera when it's taking a picture. So when it takes them, they've made it so it kind of overlaps, so their images have a little overlap. So when it's actively going, you'll see in here the image appear, each new image will be there, the histogram will shift around for whatever that picture is. The camera should be, box down here should be green, and you should see those boxes green. For the laser scanner, you'll see these green swaths appear when it's actively scanning.
On the swath lines, does it have the inner and outer lines? Like on the Trimble? So you can see if there was too much bank to keep it in a straight line, that the swath is too far?
Sometimes they have on the project file like the area that they're trying to cover. And
So you've got the inner line
so you
here,
can
yeah.
kind of see if what you're doing is covering it.
So if he goes off because he banked too much or something,
Yeah.
and that line is exposed, then that's it.
Yeah, so where there's this curve, they'll have to program in, instead of the plane just turning at that curve, they'll program one straight line here, with the ending maybe like out here, and then another straight line that starts maybe here, going into it.
Okay.
We have to fly everything has to be when it's actually scanning in straight lines. We can't turn because as he's saying, when you bank, now the lasers are going out the side, the camera is going out the side.
Okay. On the pilot display, he told me that when he comes in on the line, it automatically pops in as an X up for him. And then when you're done with the line, it pops it away, right?
Well, what it does is I get a little X on my screen every time it takes a photo.
Oh, okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So if I hit the first gate and it takes the photo automatically, I get the,
Right.
and it does that every time it goes along.
Okay. But the reason I ask is that what tells you you've reached the end of the line?
On my if you got
No, don't change a whole lot if you don't have to. We can talk about that later.
Well,
It says line finish.
All right. Well,
it does say line finish.
Does the line, looking at what we looked at yesterday, you know, some of them were like this, you know, you just know this one, come back around and catch because they were like this.
What my display
Does this one go away when he completes it?
No,
Or it stays
what I
on
see
his display?
right up until the last second is I just see this. Okay. that is 3 mile final, that's 6 mile final. So what I'll typically do is come in something like that. I get a little aeroplane that looks something with a couple of wings on it, which gives me my turn radius. So it gives me an idea at that ground speed whether or not I'm going to make the turn. Now, that's shit and it doesn't work, so I'm winging it to get in here. But
I recognise
the run starts like that, and what happens is I get a little lead in like that.
They've
little
made it
green
mark engine.
area, which is
fun.
minus 20
Did you
meters.
get
So
the-
it gives
you
me
had
a chance to
you
get
had
my
the
eye
F-16?
in minus 20.
No, we had the
And so
Enterprise
across
Star
that, it goes, takes the photo.
And so you can tell that it's happening.
And
What
then-
you showed,
Yeah, I'm coming to. I know what you're going to ask, and this is what's happening. This is obviously a scrolling screen. As I cross that line, in fact, actually on the run into it, what I'll get is something like 1 minute 30,
3 mile running,
and then 2 miles, something like that. So it's telling me,
it sounds
ticking
like a
down
lot
as I'm
to
going
listen
down the
to.
run. As I get to the end of the
Robin was
run,
like, you've done this
then
before,
I'll get a
Robin
little.
was like, I don't want over half
And the
a mile.
line, what will happen is
And
that
I'm like,
line suddenly
well,
disappears, and I can
first
then
one I
manoeuvre
went
and do
to
whatever I
was
want.
right, so yesterday when we had that,
Yeah.
let's say, and
It's like,
I'm
okay,
just, this
you
is
can do it.
exaggerated from what you showed me
You obviously
yesterday.
can do it,
You know,
so
because
half
we had,
mile run
let's say they're
That's what you
trying to
probably
keep you
said?
this
Yeah,
way,
sure,
right?
sure.
When you, let's say we gotta come around, catch that one.
What did you
come
get it
back
down
around,
to?
and we gotta line up for this
Exactly.
one, and then come back around and line up with this one.
But see, the other way.
So this one, when we
can't-
reach
you
the
can't
end of it,
bank
this
it
is the
too
question
far,
I'm
because
asking.
the Jeep
When we
will
get to the end of this,
Yeah, he was saying
this
30 degrees.
this leg goes
Yeah,
away
so we
on
do
your
that.
display.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's what I was
Yeah,
asking.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
it
slow
stays
down.
there.
Until
Kick
you
it,
push
yeah.
the button and
So you
highlight
stay
the
level.
next one.
There you go.
That's what I was
the
doing. I
answer
was
looking
charging
for.
up to it.
It's a matter of highlighting once I
Kick it.
selected.
Then speed back up again.
And then
And it also, because obviously, if you could find yourself in a situation where you've got 2 legs like that. So the question is, well, which way round do we want to go? Do we want to do that, or do we want to do that?
Right.
Now, all other things being equal, that's going to be wind dependent.
Right.
Because anything
With
more
the
than
ground
30
speed.
mile an hour wind,
Right, with the ground
I'm going to be falling out the sky if I'm not
Right.
careful. So I really want to be flying into a headwind if at all possible. So if we can work out during the pre-flight briefing which way roughly the wind's blowing,
Right.
then we can say, all right, within 180 degrees, that will determine which way we fly the line.
Right.
But right up until the last second, we can change that. So, if
Right.
it becomes, if it's nil wind, well, actually, you know what? If there's airspace there, then maybe I actually want to do something like that and then break away immediately.
Right. Either
So it depends. We've got a bit of flexibility there. We can
Okay.
kind of adjust that on the fly.
Okay. Coming back to this, we're still on the ground. We'll talk more about being in the air in a second. But we're still on the ground, right? You've been testing these, putting the settings in. The scanner. Before, you can kind of do this anytime. The way they have it in here, they... No, okay. Before you take off, put the scanner out of the ground test configuration into the whatever the project configuration is. So it should be the only other one on there.
Right. Which is the information we uploaded, right, from your email?
Yeah, this is all in this program. It's all from the RPP file.
Right.
So you open the RPP file. Okay.
where in this list is it?
It's not. That's what I was just trying
Or
to see
where in this list should it be?
That is RiAquire setup, maybe?
Okay, here we go. Come back a couple pages to after takeoff, prior to reaching the first line of the mission.
Okay.
They have it down under mission scanner settings. Come back one more.
Right.
There you go. At the bottom, mission scanner settings, there's the setup icon there. Set the laser configurations to the specified configuration for the mission. And so that's where you take it out of ground test and put it in the one for this project. I just said that it'll usually be the only other configuration there. There could be a time where you're flying 2 different projects in one flight.
Right, one day. Right.
Which has happened, and then you'll have different laser configurations. If you do need to do that, let me see here. Okay, if you know you're going to fly 2 different projects in one flight, You don't want to just close this project and reopen it to the other one in the middle, because then it'll mess up your static session that you did. It'll tell you to redo that again. But you're already in the air.
Makes
At
it
that point.
difficult.
So instead of doing that, what you can do is within the same project, go to laser configurations. This is on the ground before you take off, and go to, should be import.
Find your other file,
Find-
add your other RPP
Yep,
file.
exactly.
Okay.
So you go back to your Reigl projects folder, and then, okay, well, on that one, we're also going to do this red gum line. And then you can load it into
Right. Bottom line is you gotta have them all loaded before you get off the ground, otherwise you gotta go back to ground zero.
Yeah.
And you can't do that while you're at one.
And then just once you're finished with one project, you can just go over there and just click on the other one and it'll automatically swap over for you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't have to close the one currently.
Don't
Right.
close that project.
Okay.
Try and do it just within there.
Okay.
If the other thing you can do, if there's an issue with, you're going to have to do this one lower for some reason or higher, and you talk to Craig about it, you can change this one. You can do, let's see, clone it to keep, we'll go to clone to keep the original one. So it'll make a copy of that configuration, but then you can go to this cloned one and change the setting. So it keeps, here's all the settings from that one, but you can change the altitude so that the scanner is set to whatever altitude, because I guess it'll adjust what it's doing for whatever altitude. So it's okay, yeah, Chris, yeah, bring it down to 1900 on that one.
Now, is that because somebody drove us down there?
That might-
You see what I mean? What made us change, is that that's the same profile, what makes us drive our?
This might be maybe the cloud base is too low that day.
I got you.
But
Okay,
Craig has
something
said
drove us. Something drove us.
something,
down.
yeah, either airspace considerations or clouds will probably be the most
Okay,
likely.
right. Okay, I got you.
But so they would have to decide. Okay, yeah, we can fly that one lower. Yeah, when you come lower, you're getting more data density on the ground, but the swath that you're covering will shrink.
Right.
Because it's shooting out at one angle.
Right.
The higher you are,
Right.
it's kind of the same angle, but you're covering more ground.
So on
wherever you are-
the
And
altitude
then he has to
changes,
fly in a straight line.
on altitude changes because of weather, traffic, whatever, we just need to go make that change.
Yeah. So they would have to decide: is it okay to fly it lower, without making any other
Now,
flight? Because you might cut stuff off.
of course, right, of course. But then has the user ever come back, have you ever done that, and then did the user come back complaining that, no, you went too low and we didn't get as much as we wanted?
Yeah. So the Houston job, we were just told today that we'll have to go back and refly because
For that very reason?
yeah, we had to come down lower because of clouds,
Right.
and it was questionable whether or not that it would still got the coverage they wanted, and it turns out that it wasn't.
Right. They didn't
Okay,
get the
so
area.
but it
they
takes them a
needed.
few days to
They didn't
work
get the
that
area, right, they have to see it, I guess. They didn't get the area they needed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
They said at first they told us, well, it looks like it might be a 50% chance you might have to go back out there,
Right.
and so that was a couple days ago, and so now they've told us that it looks like you do need to go back. Okay. Fine, whatever.
Well, now, wouldn't,
Do what we told.
I see we've got some flexibility, but at the same time, in order to avoid having to go back and reshoot a whole area, can we contact them and go, hey,
Yes.
this is what we got, this is what we got?
They have the option to
Right.
veto. We have the bailout option of just
Right.
saying, look, this is what the weather's doing. Click, click, click. That's what the weather's doing. Go, no,
Right.
go.
Because-
And to be fair, Craig has said, if you're in any doubt, then just do that, and we'll make the weather call. So it's like,
Yeah,
right, fine.
call them or text them, and they'll give you go ahead and try it anyway, change the settings to this.
Right.
Or they'll say, no, it's not worth it to us.
Right.
We need to sit on the ground till this afternoon.
But we would touch base on them before we made that call
It's
to
always,
go
always an
change.
option.
If you know ahead of time, yeah. If it looks good, and then you go in the air and then, oh shoot, this stuff is on forecast, we didn't know these clouds were over here.
Right.
Then,
Which is what we had at Houston, unfortunately.
Which is
It
what
was like
happened.
this when we left. And literally, I'm looking down flight the lines, and he says, oh, look out the window, and there's clouds all around us. And we
Right.
whomp straight into IMC. I was like, oh.
Right.
yeah.
So now, did they approved you guys to go down, or you just automatically did it that day in Houston?
No, I had to get permission from, I see. Well, air traffic were extremely unhappy that I descended without permission. But well, it was beneath controlled airspace, so we didn't really have any justification for that. But anyway, that's by the way. But yes, as far as the task goes, I mean, we made the decision on the fly. As it turns out, the equipment wasn't calibrated for that,
Right.
and they had to recalibrate it for that.
Right.
And as James said, the problem that you run into is obviously the angle over which you're looking. When you're lower down, obviously it's much narrower,
Right,
so if
right.
they don't get the coverage they need, they've just got to do it again anyway.
Yeah, so what we ran into that, having never run into that before, and we didn't have any guidance from them. So what they said is, if you are already in the air and then you come up to that, if you're low enough, you can try to send out a text message and see if it'll go through. Like I said before, they have a high priority on acquisition. So acquisition is the highest priority. So any issues with us, they'll drop what they're doing and try to respond to us. So, which Craig has, I've texted him once in the air and he got back to me really fast. So if you say, hey, clouds are at this, what do you want us to do? And they'll either say land, or he'll say, okay, yeah, it's fine, change this to this because we have enough buffer on this project, we can come down. If you don't hear back from him and it doesn't meet what you know that it wants, then just land and then get more work from him.
Now, if you do have to change it on the fly,
You'll have to tell, yeah,
Because I'm obviously outside that communication.
now if you do have to change it on the fly while you're in the air, can you just change the settings and then just run it from there? Or do you have to start the log all over again? I mean, how does that particular portion ever work? Or does it automatically update on its own?
like this right here.
Yeah. So if you had to go in there, let's say you had to change it to 1900.
Yeah. So you would have kept the position running. Mm-hmm. You can keep the camera running. Mm-hmm. Definitely keep it that overall initialization going. But I think you'll have to tell the scanner to stop scanning.
Change it
and then change it. Apply. Okay. Oh, the other thing that he did say is make sure you click uniform point spacing.
Before you hit apply?
Before, yeah.
Okay.
There's a button. I don't know what happens if I click on
You get uniform point.
it. You get uniform point spacing.
Okay.
But he says there's a chance that if you don't, it could work out fine. But make sure you click. He says,
Okay.
but do make sure.
That's if you change any of the
Yeah,
settings.
yeah.
So change it, hit uniform point spacing, apply, then start the image over.
Okay, and then start scanner,
Okay.
start logging.
Okay.
Well, you telling it to start logging will force it to start scanning. But, okay, so you don't have to click start logging because when you hit the line, it should automatically start logging.
Okay.
It'll start and stop on its own for the
Okay.
lines, yeah. But if you click it before, if you're not sure for some reason, you click it before, that's fine. It'll start scanning before you get to the line. And then when you come off the line, it'll stop itself and then it'll be in its automatic mode from there. Yeah, okay. So we've done that. We've put the camera in external. Well, the camera's not external. This is set on the project setting for the scanner. All right. Now the static. Your 5 minutes is up. You've waited. Now it's up, or it was up a long time ago, and you took a while to do this. Whatever. Okay. Now we are ready to go. What can be helpful before you go is to select the line on
Right.
Snapshot.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Jay's credit card is not going through for some reason. Can I see him? I think we might have maxed it out, you know.
All these hotels and fuel bills and stuff.
That's
Huh?
it. Okay, right, we've got
I think that was the Mile High card again.
Not
Not mine.
Your wife's gonna be mad here in a minute.
Well, add that to the list of things. All right, so your 5 minutes is up. You've tested these. The scanner is on the project configuration. The camera, you'll still leave on the interval because you'll test it while you're in the air before you get there. And then, okay. then you're ready to take off. But I was mentioning that we can select a line. Here's a recording of us in the air, 2 days ago. And let me find a spot where I'm selecting a line to show you. So he was starting to draw this out, what he sees on here. Okay, so probably right before that I selected this. That was right after I selected it. Oh, we'll start from here.
There's the camera bursts.
Yeah.
Across
So here we are flying. We're in the middle of flying a line. It was telling us we were too fast, but we were fine. That was when I texted Craig, "Hey, haven't seen this before. We can't fly that slow. We'll fall." You know?
Yeah.
So he said, "Oh, don't worry about that."
And it's telling him he's too low.
Yeah. So we can see we've got that message. He said, "Don't worry about that." What he did say is, as long as this interval right here is greater than 0.6, it's okay.
That's the camera image size.
Yeah.
And you don't want them apart, but they can overlap as much as you like.
Yeah, the images, yeah, exactly. The images can overlap, but you don't want them. Okay.
No, I think it's a problem there, and they're saying you're working as well. We know
Okay, so it has to be above 1.6 no matter what.
Above. Let me look at the next picture. We'll give you the right number. I'm remembering 0.6, but let me get it directly from his message. 0.6. The camera needs 0.6 seconds to capture and store an image. If the enter gets smaller, say 0.5, then you could be skipping images. So as long as that number is above, then you're good.
Okay.
If you get one of these speed messages here.
Okay.
If you get it because he's going 150 knots, then it's probably a valid message for you. Because the project might be set for no more than 135.
Okay.
The speed is up here, GSPD, ground speed. So right here he was going 132.5 knots, ground speed. You may not be familiar.
What's the score on this?
Well, he said anything below like 103, I think, and he
What's your safety
but
margin?
I don't know where the stall actually is.
Oh, so he doesn't want to go below 102.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we're coming
So that's
into
got to include
land,
some safety margin.
yeah, when we're coming to land, we're at about like 100. Start of the flow, we're at like 90. I think we end up touching around.
Stop
But
going.
7.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I've only heard it once or twice. Okay.
It's not a good sound.
So some ground speed. The other number, shoot, this one's cut off.
Oh, there was a few fuels as well.
You can kind of see it. I can find another one that doesn't have this error message. Right here,
Oh, of course, yeah.
there's some green letters that'll say XTRK. Yeah, TRK, cross track. And then the next number is how far cross track goes. So what that number is, you see the plane is slightly left of the center line? That number is how far left or right of the center line you are, regardless of which way you're pointing.
Okay. That's the one you want to keep within 20 meters.
Exactly.
Okay.
Unless they tell you otherwise.
Okay.
There might be a project where, hey, it's fine, if you're plus or minus 50, that's okay.
So if you start to see them sliding over, 10 meters to the left, just kind of start to let them know you need to work it back over to the right a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. What they're going to start doing, and they did for some of them, is program in a little visual corridor.
Okay.
That's like a gray corridor within there that represents the 20
Yeah,
meters.
that's what I can see, and they've put
That'd
that
be
in.
nice.
That little grey corridor is in there on my screen.
Was it on the last ones?
Yes.
Okay, so
And it's also at the start of the run.
I guess I
because
can
this is
see
obviously
that.
mid-run. Yeah, they've modified it since they first
Yeah.
came up with it. At the start of the run, the grey corridor extends down probably about half a mile or so. So I'll get a bit of a run in, basically aim for the start of the green, and then
cool. Okay. What else? Yeah, the altitude is the other helpful thing over here. This is the target altitude, 3,537, and it's saying that he is 91 feet high. What's the margin they've been giving you on the
Well, they
last
told him
ones?
plus or minus 100 feet, but to be honest, he hasn't. He said when I questioned him on it, he said the altitude's not as important as the plus or minus 20 meters. He didn't give me a tolerance as such. But I have noticed that goes from red to yellow if you get it within 50 feet.
Okay.
And if he's trying to hold it within 50 feet, he's got 2 hopes of that in that turbulence. I mean, the problem is the turbulence will knock you off 200 feet in a matter of less than a second.
Right.
It'll
The
just go
difficult
bang
thing with
like that, and there's nothing you can
with
do
the
about it.
altitude, especially, well, it doesn't take long here, is the
That's the thing,
heating
is
from the
you're right in
ground.
that layer where you get the thermal
Heats the
uplift.
air, and then you've got the rising air, the thermals. And so that's one thing that will shoot you off your altitude pretty fast.
They prefer you higher than lower though, right? Because if you're lower, your swath is narrow.
I don't know. I mean, in the same breath, you've got better image density though, so I don't know. They just want you flying through the pipe regardless. And it's like, well, we'll do what we can, and if it's good enough, it's good enough. It's like,
Other things you can see from the plane, there's a yellow, blue vector line with an arrow coming out, and that's showing which direction his track is. And so if that blue arrow is pointing to the left, that means shortly he'll be coming off of the line. And you'll see when he makes the correction that will start coming back in. Him starting to turn in one direction doesn't necessarily mean that line will turn with it, because that's the direction he's actually moving. It's like your GPS direction. So if he might be correcting for a wind that's increasing, a crosswind. So him starting to bank into it more, you could still be going away from it because the wind's still increasing.
and there's also about
And a delay.
probably somewhere between half a second
Yeah.
and a second delay between me doing something and that showing up on
Just
there.
to give you an idea of what he's dealing with. If for some reason, he just went, like I said, it's hard to see right here. He just went 50 meters to the left. We'll need to tell him, hey, we need to redo that. I know it was bumpy. Yeah, okay. Click abort line, whatever. And then he'll circle around and redo it, or go the other way. Maybe it's better to fly it from the other direction with the winds.
Okay.
Oh yeah, ground speed versus airspeed. Do you know about the difference between those, ground speed and airspeed?
No
You do?
idea.
Okay. So you think of when you're flying through the air, his airspeed gauge is telling him the speed he's moving through the air. That is not necessarily the same as the speed that he's traveling across the ground. Because if all the air is moving at 20 knots from east to west and he's going to the east, if you're flying 100 knots in the air, over the ground you're only going 80,
Okay.
right? So it would be the 20 minus whatever your airspeed. Or the other way, if the wind's coming from behind you, you might be showing 100 on his airspeed gauge, but the GPS over the ground is showing
125 or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes we might only be able to fly a line from one direction because of how strong the wind is.
Okay.
That's going to hit a critical point at something of the order of 30 knots. Because I need a certain amount of forward airspeed to stay airborne, otherwise the airplane's just going to fall out of the sky. That line is at about 105, 110 knots, something like that. So if I'm flying along at 110 knots, but I've got a 30 knot tailwind, that means my ground speed is 140, which is too fast for the kit. I can't slow down any more than that. Right. If we turn it around, then I'm now flying into the headwind. I can do 120 knots, and I've got a 30 knot headwind. That means my ground speed is now 90 knots. Computer can keep up. Everyone's happy days.
Okay.
And therefore, and obviously proportions thereof, depending on whether or not it's a crosswind.
And that's
So
what we'll
it's-
talk about in pre-flight as far as what
We can,
what
yeah,
way.
we
Okay.
can talk about that. But yeah, it's just important that you get the general concept of that.
Sometimes you won't have a choice because of maybe some sort of restricted area or something with the airspace, an airport. You might only have the option of coming in one way. He was talking about the 3 mile lead in. If he's doing a 3 mile lead in, you might have that on one side, but on the end, as soon as it says line is finished and it clears that selection for that line, he can turn away. So you might say, okay, well, we'll point that at the restricted airspace, so we'll do the 3 mile lead on this side, and then as soon as we pop out, or the Mexican border, or whatever, you start your turn away from whatever the feature or obstruction is. Okay, so arrow, so you can see it in action. So here he is, middle of the line. It's saying he's got 12 seconds, 11 seconds left until he finishes the line. 0.3 miles to go to the end of that line, 0.2.
Looks like it's on fast forward.
going this speed. This one, the lines were really close together too compared to the other ones. So there, we came off the line, and the line's finished. It zoomed back out to whatever the zoom setting was.
So you select the next one, right?
Yeah.
And that was a good example actually, because we had to do a pretty aggressive turn there because the airport was right here.
Okay.
So,
Which meant that we couldn't fly it from this direction because I couldn't get a 3 mile run in from the overhead.
Gotcha.
And that 3 mile run in, just to let you know what I'm actually doing during that 3 mile run.
This is way better.
This is not accurate enough to fly it on the screen. It's not quick enough. So what you have to do is make the turn to come in on, because 3 miles doing 140 odd knots, you know, it's getting off at 2.5 miles a minute there. So you've got, you know, not very long to get yourself lined up. So you get yourself lined up, and the trick is, what I'm doing during that time is lining up so the trend vector is as far down the line as possible, and then looking up and lining up a field, a tree, a cloud, or something on the windscreen wiper, because that is now very accurate. If I hold that tree on the windscreen wiper, and then every couple of seconds just make sure it's still in the right place, that's what I'm doing. If I don't have a tree, I'm now sitting there going down that, which is impossible, it just doesn't work. So I need that running to find something to track visually. That's what I'm doing during that time.
so here he is intercepting a line. This is how far out he is to the beginning. And that's how far to the end, the second number, in time. And there's distance to the beginning, distance to the end of the line. So that can be helpful when ATC suddenly says, 9 Alpha Bravo, how much farther east are you going to be going? Oh, he's got 4 more miles in that direction to go.
Okay.
Sometimes, if you don't have that to look to, you're pretty task saturated doing that to try and plan out, oh, well, let me think about this. How much farther do I need to go? So it's nice that that gives it to you. Let me skip forward here. Oh, skip the whole thing. Guess it was a short line. I'll go there.
You know what's insane?
There we go.
They had Williams doing this with the old Reigl Lidar and a 182 with canards. Single pilot, no sensor operator.
He was like doing it all himself? Whoa.
That's why they threw everything at Williams in the last year. It was so cheap.
So here's what you see in RiAquire. This, I had switched back to this view to see how the camera was doing and make sure things were logging. So you see that's what the camera was getting. There's the histogram. A lot of times you'll have some low stuff at the right end that might get cut off. They said they don't care too much about that. It's the bulk of the main part of the curve that you want within there. So if any part of the main curve is up against the right, try and change the camera settings to fix that. Yeah. These automatically kicked into the working mode, so the only options up here are to stop them, to stop logging. Each line I'm doing, it's recording a new object over here on the left. It'll be record 013, that number will keep counting, but then it'll also attach on there, if it was for a particular actual project line, what line number that was. And then you'll write down run number, whatever it was. In this one, it was, we've already started it, so I guess it was line 5. So write down run number 5. What direction are you flying it? Towards the west, towards the south? Whatever. Because maybe in the last one you did it from the other direction. So, okay, well, we redid that one from this direction, from the opposite direction. Strip ID is what the name of that object is. So, record 030, line 5.
So you're not trying to go exact compass heading on the.
No, just a general.
Just a
So
general
when they're
direction.
looking at this data back in their office, they
Right.
say, oh, what line 5? Here's all the imagery and everything. Which way did you fly it? Oh, it's from towards the west.
So the run number is the line number?
Yes, same thing. strip ID is the name, is actually what it's named over here on the left.
Gotcha.
Like the job.
And that's off the.
No, that's just right here. So it'd be, strip ID on this one would be record 030 line 5.
And that's off the data we've downloaded to the system, right off the email? Where'd you come up with that name?
This is making them. Each line, each
Right.
one of those lines that you fly,
Right, so it's making
it
them.
throws it on here and it's
Okay,
making it.
gotcha.
Okay.
If you're flying two different projects, like one might be numbered 1 through 5, one might be might have 10 lines. Having this record thing in the front of that, I realized is helpful because then when you switch to the other project, it'll just keep the record going. Next one will be 031, 032. But the line, you start the other project and go to the line 1, then it'll be record 035, line 1.
Right.
And you'll have record 1, line 1
Okay.
from the other project. When you hit the beginning of the line, you write the start time, just the clock time. Okay, 10:49. We hit the beginning of the line at 10:49, and then when he flies out the end of it, to finish it, it took us 1 minute, 10:50.
Okay.
Any notes if there was anything aborted? Track got too far off, or something like that, or aborted due to ATC or something like that, or this error happened and we had to refly it.
Okay.
Now, that being said, this system's so sophisticated, right, that it's not logging time start, time end on the line.
It does, but the guys back at the office that process all this crazy amounts of data, it's really easy for them to find.
Just to look
Oh,
at
okay,
stuff,
okay, so it's a
because
timeline for them to go where to look, I got you.
Yeah, this
Now-
project, this line, it's named this, we can
And
find
then,
that
yeah,
file.
they can fast forward,
Yeah,
instead of watching a whole tape, I got you.
And then whenever, let's say we did have to abort it, we just go back. So next run would be just the exact same thing all over again, and everything like
Yeah,
that. And, okay,
your strip
just keep it
ID will
going.
be whatever the next count is on record
Okay.
031, but line 5 again.
Okay.
You might do line 5 times to finally get it right.
Right.
Okay.
But the beginning of it, the record number will keep counting.
Keep changing.
So you
Okay,
could just put
gotcha.
abort in the comments if you had to or
Yeah.
something, right?
Okay.
The camera area here, it does have what your current exposure is, ISO, aperture. What I've been doing for I think they've told me to do this, is when I have it, what seems good is I'll write those numbers down.
Okay.
What I had for those runs, so I'll just write like ISO 125, 1 in 1600, 5.6 aperture. And then if I ended up having to change it, then I'll write those ones down too. So these runs were at this and these runs were at that because of changing lighting or something. Oh yeah, so one might be aborted due to too dark of an image or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I went back. I want to pause it where I'm selecting a line. Switch on video if I click it. Okay.
Well, you can breathe now.
Yeah, exactly. You're holding your breath probably, right? And you were tense.
You've got to remind yourself to breathe. Literally, you get to the end of it, and it's like.
Okay, so he just came off the line, no lines are selected, and now it's up to us, the operator, to select the next line for him. So
It's worth pointing out I can't see this at this point.
Okay.
I've got
His-
to zoom in.
his
of the
screen
airplane
will
to
jump
tell me where
into
I am.
a mode sort of like this. Sometimes it's zoomed in like this, sometimes it's zoomed out like 100 miles away and it just looks like a tiny thing. So if you've already kind of thought about it, coming out of this, the most efficient way, if the wind was kind of generally coming from this way, or we had the air base over here, the best way to come to this next line would be to fly out of this to the left, come out here and hook into it this way.
Okay.
So when you hover the mouse over the line, depending on which half of the line you have it on, it'll shoot a red line out one way or the other. So if you put the mouse over the left half of the line in this case, it shot that red line out. So if I say, yeah, I do want that, I want that to be the lead in, you right click to select it. So right click on the mouse pad here, and then There, I selected it. Now you see,
Right.
you can see that line looks like it's activated
So
there.
you're selecting the next line off of Snapshot.
Yeah,
right?
so I just selected it, that line turned blue, and it shot a black line out for his lead-in pass. Right now, his screen is still in whatever zoomed out state it is. It'll zoom in and show him a more locked-in view once he comes to what we call in a beam position, a sort of, how do you describe
halfway
beam?
down the down.
So right where the end of this line is, if you cast a perpendicular 90-degree line out to the side, as soon as he comes and hits that perpendicular line of where the start is,
then it goes
then it'll
down.
kick into a good view for him to see what's going on. So sometimes when it's, if you haven't gotten there yet, you might need to say, hey, yeah, why don't you turn left about 120 degrees or something like that, and that'll be a good direction for you until it kicks over to him.
Let's say you select the wrong line, or activate the wrong line, how do you deactivate?
Click abort line down here.
Okay, and then you can select a different one.
Yeah. Okay, so I hit play. He's pretty close already, so shortly after he turns, it should go into that other view mode that I was just talking about. He's already pretty close to being a beam, the start of that line.
You would like man.
Well, it doesn't matter in the turn.
It's the hammerhead, right?
What an aggressive hammerhead, huh? 100%. There we go.
Okay.
So now he's going to go outbound some to give himself some space to turn in and then have a comfortable amount of time to get steadied out to hit the beginning of this line where he needs to be. Right now he's a little high, but he can sort that out with his 3-mile lead in. The speed, right now, he's pretty fast. If you're trying to stay below 135, well, he's too fast, but we're not on the line yet. The wind might be coming from this way and he has a tailwind, so once he turns back in, that might shoot down 20 or 30 knots. So wait till he's coming in and watch as he's getting closer and see, okay, yeah, his ground speed's good, or if he's 10 knots fast, here you're able to come down, watch your airspeed. He'll tell you whether you can or not. You might need to fly it the other way. We'll work that out. Any questions so far? Okay. So you'll do that till you hit all the lines. How do you see which ones are done or not? Come back to here. These ones are done. These ones we haven't done yet. You can see it's got all this overlaid stuff over it. Yeah. Plus you've been keeping a record of line 1, line 2, line 3 that you've done already, and you can see the numbers on here. When you're in this view, you can zoom this screen in and out. You can drag it around to look at different parts, and it won't change what he sees. Okay. It's kind of good and kind of bad, because I kind of wish that I could zoom it so that this, when it switches to this view, that it was about this zoomed in, so he could have good situational awareness.
That would be useful.
But also, it's also a good thing that it doesn't, because if I want to scroll it away and look at something real quick, oh, where's that other odd line that's over here? Then you can look at that without it screwing up what he's seeing. I guess in this case it wouldn't matter, because you don't have useful information at that moment anyway. Sometimes.
Well, what it does is it saves me having to memorise every single leg, and it also allows us to adjust on the fly, because at that point, I'm sort of looking out going, well, all right, there's, we've identified things like San Antonio over there, okay, it's a left turn. And what I'll do is, because one of the things that helps me out is if by programming this leg, what appears up here is the magnetic course of the next run. So one of the first things I do is whip the course pointer around onto that, so that I'm now flying up the arse of the course pointer.
There we go.
And that effectively allows me to position into a little circuit for it.
Yeah,
I know which way I'm going to be turning. And that then allows me to look up and say, well, all right, I can see that I'm turning this way. I need to turn away from the airport, so I need to make my turn to the left, for example.
So I selected the line, and it says that the magnetic course is 107.6. So do you know the compass directions? Mm-hmm. They've got 360 degrees. Okay. Which way is south? What number would that?
360 degrees would be 180.
Great. Okay, so 107 is about what direction?
You just go southeast.
Perfect. Okay, but he's going to turn to get himself a lead, and so he needs to fly about 180 degrees from that to get himself going in the opposite direction, parallel in the track, so he's not flying away from it unnecessarily. So you could tell him, well, the two things you could tell him, all right, the next inbound is 107, or you could tell him, all right, why don't you come left to about 280. So I added 180 degrees to that to give him kind of what a next helpful heading would be.
And just to let you know what I'm doing at this point is I'm aiming to start about there.
Okay.
So the quicker this line comes up, I can just aim for somewhere between the first arrow and because that's 3 mile run in, and then the next double arrow is 6 miles. So I'm aiming somewhere in here somewhere. So and position myself. You see these two bollocks that are hanging off the end of the map here. I'm positioning myself so that the edge of the bollock is just a little bit of daylight between that and the track. That way I know I can make the turn, if that makes sense. Oh, incidentally, just in case you didn't know, these are turn radiuses.
Right.
So the idea is that if I started to turn to the right now, if the wind stayed exactly as it is, I should follow that little grey line.
Okay.
It doesn't quite work in real life because it doesn't account for the wind. So if I've got a wind from the side, I'm going to get blown wide. If I've got a wind from this side, I'm going to get blown narrow. But I know that if I position that circle just to the on side of this line, I'm going to make the turn.
Okay.
That's the theory. So that's what I'm aiming for at that point. So don't be surprised if you see me closing on it or coming out slightly just to get the circle away from the track.
I mentioned zoom in and zoom out. The easiest way to do that is to do the two-finger thing on the touchpad. Do you know about that? So if you use two fingers on this touchpad on the mouse pad here, up and down, while the mouse is over this and this window is selected, you'll zoom in and out.
Okay.
Same on RiAquire here. If you're over this, let's see if it'll let me do it. Yeah. So I'm doing 2 fingers up. That's the same thing as doing as if you had an actual mouse. The wheel is you spinning the wheel up and down. You can, if you want the image to be bigger for the camera, they say go ahead and tailor this how you want it. So you can slide this one over for the scanner, and you can make this one a lot bigger, however you like it. Sometimes this will, usually it's been starting up how I left it last, but sometimes it started with the edge of this window too far to the right, and I can't see all of the histogram.
Okay.
And if you just grab this and move it over like that, that doesn't help you. It just extends the left side of that window. So what you have to do is grab the top of it, slide it over until you can see the, basically the edge or close to it, and then adjust this to meet where you have this window. Does that make sense? Comfortable with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. One other thing. If you okay, we do these. So if you click on one of these lines, you've gone in, you should see 3 things. Something for channel 1, something for channel 2 of the scanners, because there are 2 laser scanners, and then a file for the camera. So each line, there should be 3 things attributed to that line. Okay. If you take a look at that and you're only getting 1 thing, something's wrong, and it's not worth continuing to fly.
Right.
Because some setting is off. Right. Make sure maybe one of the scanners is red because it froze or something. I don't know. I haven't had that issue yet, but these ones that don't have a line attributed to it, those were ones where I was just forcing it to shoot images to check the camera settings.
Okay.
So it started recording stuff, but it wasn't attributed to any line. And it'll make a record of that over here, but it's not for any line. So those ones I wouldn't write down on here.
Okay.
Only the ones that are actually for a planned line.
Okay.
Planned run. When you're in this one, the only way to tell which run you're on is up here on the left. It'll say run 6-1. So that's line 6, run 6. Out of all these lines. You can see here, there's a number 6. It has the number at the beginning and the end of the line, or on the end of the line. 6, 7, 8. But when it goes to being in that guidance mode, where it's more zoomed in and he shows you how far off the line is and everything, you can't see these numbers. The only way to see which one you're on if you forgot is to see what the run number up here. Oh, the other important thing on this screen, and I don't remember if it's in here. We'll take a look in a moment. Is this GPS box right here? When you load it, this program, it's always loaded it where this box is blue. And you'll see the project lines, but you won't see the airplane. So you have to remember to click the GPS to turn it green. And then if it's getting the positional data that it needs, you'll see the airplane positioned somewhere. Maybe you don't see the plane because you're too zoomed in. Maybe these lines are 30 miles away from the airport you're taking off from. And that's why. But it might be because you don't have that selected. Actually, if that's not selected, you'll be missing all of that. I think you'll be missing all of this data. I think this will all be like blank or zeros or X's or something. Because all of this stuff you would need the GPS for. Satellites, track yet, lat long. You can select a line while you're on the ground before you take off. So if you've gone through all that before you, actually after you load it, during that 5 minutes, you can queue up the first line or just an example of one of the lines out there. Right-click it, and it'll tell you what the altitude is. Yeah, it'll say it's way too low, but it'll say what it wants you at right here. So you can say, hey, it's telling us that one of the lines I clicked out there is at 3,400. Didn't they tell us 2,600?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
wow.
research, yeah. Good research, yeah.
So then he knows that's okay. Well, I'll have to adjust that with what I call out to UTC when we get close. So the sooner you can do that to have an idea of what the altitudes are going to be like, the better for him. And if you say, or if you know ahead of time, all right, we're planning on doing line 1 first, or maybe it works out better to do line 3 from the south or whatever, you can select that out miles away if you want, and have it ready to go. And you can see this. Well, potentially you can see this line coming up, but you might not see it until you get closer. But there's no harm in selecting that way out. And it's actually helpful because then you have the distance to the line and what the inbound course is going to be, all that stuff. Okay, so you've flown all the lines 1 through 5, or whatever the case was. You're happy with him staying within 20 meters. Now you're going to head back. So you say, okay, that's all lines, let's go back. Start heading back. What you can do while you're heading back is stop some things. Stop the camera. Actually, we should follow him in this series to see him here. So during mobilization back to airport, stop all lasers. So there's the laser scanner with the red light. Stop all cameras. There's the camera symbol with the red light. Leave the GPS system going. The pause data. That's the globe one that you did the 5-minute static for. Okay. Leave that going until you get to the ground and are fully stopped.
We have to make sure that the laser is off prior to landing. They've given me a safety assessment on that, but essentially it's predicated on not being anywhere close to the ground. It's not particularly powerful in terms of intensity. There's a specification they have to meet, and with the naked eye, it's okay up to something like 60 meters or something. So anything other than short final and landing, you should be okay. But I'm personally responsible for emissions from my aeroplane.
Right.
If some kid looks up at the
Some kid looks up and it's like, this is not a good thing to fix. So we've got to make sure the laser's off prior to the
I'm surprised they didn't give you. Did they give you a C distance, a safe eye exposure distance?
They told me about it. I wanted it in writing, but they didn't want to give it to me in writing. They, in fact, we had to browbeat the bloody electrical spec out of them. They just wanted to bolt all this shit on the back of the air. Yeah, it should be grand. It's like, no, you're tying this on my alternators. I'd like to know what this is, please.
Right.
Okay, so you stop the camera, stop the laser, and then you just sit back while he lands. There's nothing else for us to do until he lands. Tidy up any notes you had on here, possibly. Come back to land. We'll land once he's in his full position where we're gonna shut down the airplane. After he's done taxiing it. Hey, is this where we stopped now? Yep. Okay. Then you can click on the stop the GPS. So it's the globe with the red light. Click that. You'll see the same window pop up that you saw the first when you started it. You'll see you'll see the globes, and then you'll click start static, and it'll start another 5-minute countdown. Can't move for 5 minutes. So it does that, I guess, to get good reference information for the beginning, for the end. It ties into all this data when they review it at the end. Again, they want you to note the time that you started the static session. So how I noted, just doing like beginning start static and ending start static is what I wrote. And just write down the clock. Okay, now it's 11:09. 5 minutes is up. Uninitialize the system, so the symbol next to the sort of laser burst is a sort of a power symbol. Click that, and it'll uninitialize all the systems. It'll ask if you want to shut down the devices. Yeah, shut down the devices. It doesn't shut it down right away. I've noticed it takes maybe 30 seconds. So on top of the scanner, I was talking about where those red lights are. When the laser scanner is on, you've got the red lights. Right now you shouldn't see the red lights, but you'll still see some green sort of indicator lights on there. When those lights turn off, it's actually shut down the devices. So I click that, and then I kind of look over. At that point you're stopped. It's okay to take your seatbelt out if you need to get a closer look. Wait till those lights are out. Then, okay, while it's doing that, you can close this window, and it'll ask if you want to save the project. Definitely save the project. You can go to Snapshot, track error, that guidance program, close that. There's nothing to save on that one, so you don't have to worry about anything there. By now, the device should be turned off. If it's not, wait for the green light to go. Okay, that's out. That circuit breaker board, the distributor outlet thing that we've got there, pull that main circuit breaker, and then tell him, okay, we're turned off, you can turn off the power. He'll turn his switches off, which are to that main outlet back there for everything, and then he'll finish his shutdown. Well, by there, he's probably ready to shut down because 5 minutes has gone by. So as soon as he does that,
Does this have a UPS in it?
does it what?
Have a UPS in it?
UPS. What's that?
Uninterruptible power supply.
Yeah.
I don't know. What is that?
Remember Robbie would have you turn the power off and still have a system running at the end?
Oh.
To check that the uninterruptible power supply system is working. So if you have a power failure in flight, you don't lose all that data.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, he would always do it at the end of the flight.
I think various elements of it are battery powered, but there's no one single power source that powers everything. If I put it this way, if I turn those switches off and he hasn't done everything we do, it's screwed.
Right. All shuts
Do we
down.
know that for sure?
I'm sure that's what he told Johnny. But I don't know.
I haven't heard any
I'll tell you what,
reference to that.
You could ask Johnny actually. He'd probably know.
So you're wondering if there is an electrical failure of the plane, or something comes unplugged, whatnot.
And this is one of the reasons that I was so stroppy about the fact that they haven't given me an electrical spec, because I've got two 70 amp alternators, and they're telling me the STC says it can run 50 amps. All right, that's 50 amps hanging off one remaining alternator after an engine failure, and I've still got to fly the aeroplane. I'm sorry, but this comes a very distant second to my electrical services. So
Your two switches are
exactly.
off.
As soon as I've lost an engine,
We're
and it's not in the checklist. They haven't modified the checklist. So as soon as I lose an engine, I've got to get that thing feathered and get those bloody electrical circuits off. So,
We'll read the lines later.
it's exactly it's prioritisation, fellas.
Well, we can pull it for you anyway.
Well, exactly.
Right. So.
You know the score.
Right.
Okay, those are turned off.
I had them telling me, if you have an engine failure, the first thing that you need to do is go through a shutdown procedure on the equipment in the back. It's like, all right, we'll do that then. Yeah, we'll do that. You don't you worry about that. It's like,
Move that up on your list.
Yeah, move that on the list, yeah.
On your bold face.
Okay, he's shut down. Then we're gonna need to take some. We're gonna need to do some stuff with the drives. This is sort of written for us having two laptops. They're envisioning a system where there's one laptop that stays in the plane and one laptop that's back in your hotel room with some docking stations for the GPS. But we're often not leaving stuff in the plane, and we're not often having a hotel already that we're based out of because we might do one project a day and then go somewhere else. So
worth reiterating the golden rule: never become separated from your living stuff. Take our suitcases, basically live with us in the airplane.
yeah. So we right now we have one laptop. They're saying they'll get us another one as a backup end to have this system where you have one back in your hotel supposedly, and the stuff you can leave in the plane. So the idea is with the stuff you can leave in the plane, you make a copy onto the one of those external hard drives, the field backup or the small shipping one. And then, you take that stuff off of the laptop, that project folder under Reigl files, and then Dallas or whatever your project is that you flew, copy that everything into there into a dated folder on the external hard drive from this laptop. Then the idea is that you would leave this laptop there, take these drives out of their data recorders in the plane they'll have the little key, put them in here, take this with you back to your hotel where you have your other laptop and the docking station stuff, and then do all the download stuff that you do. But how it's been working out is everything comes out back to the hotel, and then back in. Because we don't have a hotel yet, we gotta go get one.
Right.
Worth
Don't
getting
look at
to
hotels
grips with
in advance,
price
is it?
line and all that kind of jazz.
Price,
Because
yeah.
I might
Get good
you
at
might
price
end up-
line, get good at-
What we do is you take each other to look at the hotels. He's much better at it than I am, but I might be a bit tied up. So it's
IHG all the way.
all all the drill.
IHG, yeah, that's nice for rewards, but often the price is higher than Priceline. But then you're not getting the reward. So I think it evens out with the rewards.
You're obviously not an elite member yet,
Elite member. I'm not an elite member.
or whatever it is. Yeah, the prices drop quite quickly once you get past a certain amount of points.
Cool.
Yeah.
No time. It's worth signing up for these membership things because we're doing it all the time. So.
Yeah.
So, funny little story. Jimmy, who used to be acquisition manager,
Okay.
would book all the hotel rooms for you
Nice.
through IHG
Mm-hmm.
on his rewards card.
Oh,
And his
he
personal
dragged
one.
it out.
And he ended up with like 2.5 million reward points or something.
Free nights
Insane.
everywhere.
It's like 2 or 3 months worth of free nights.
I have 7,000 points right now.
I mean, I think I hit 35. Platinum, 35,000.
I flew for 15 years with Delta. I never fucked with those points, right? A year ago, I got on there and said, hey, I've got a friend getting married, from Washington, D.C., what have I got available? Thinking they're going to give me 15% discount, right? I've got 9 free flights anywhere in the continental United States. Never knew I had it. I'm like, holy shit.
So they expire? You should.
No, they don't expire. Because I went over that goal limit or whatever it is.
Another good thing to get, one of these guys.
Have a trip.
Oh, yeah.
I know that one.
You've seen the AV cards, right?
Have cards,
Like
yeah.
the credit
The blue
cards.
ones, yeah.
Well, that's for companies. The AV trip is for pilots. So when you buy fuel with your company credit card, you give them your AV trip card, and that's
We're low life, Scott.
a points card.
We're not pilots.
Okay.
Hopefully,
They get all the checks.
hopefully someday. That's a goal.
They get all the checks, too.
Right.
We don't get-
This thing drinks fuel. We're getting for about $800 of fuel a day. Wow.
So what does this do for you? What do you get
It's
from it?
cash, basically. You get
Cash
certain points, and it's cash.
Well, just
Yeah.
whenever I'm refueling, grab me.
We're just dirtbags.
There you go.
Yeah, they're free. AV trip. I've
got it because of the Huey, because it's like
Oh man.
150 gallons a shot,
Yeah,
180
we're getting
gallons
for
a
about
shot.
150 gallons a shot.
All adds up.
It does. Quickly.
Have trip code.
Okay. Then we have all the kind of complicated data copying stuff to do. You ready for that? Take a break.
Yeah.
Do you need to go? Okay. If you get this wrong, that's another helpful thing for why you keep sort of a 24-hour copy on the other set, on either the ones or the two sets of the drives.
Okay.
Because it did happen once where they said, "Hey, do you still have the data from the Dallas job?" I said, "Yeah." "Okay, we might need to see what's on the camera drive." And they met us at the next airport that we went to, and then they re-downloaded it.
So they messed up.
Okay. Well, I don't know, because Craig was
Somebody messed up.
Some of those drives have multiple drives within them. I think they each have 2, and we missed one channel of the drive. Apparently.
Lunchtime. There we go.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you, sir.
How are you feeling so far with this, with what we've gone over?
It's good. It's exciting. It's way better than what I'm usually doing every day.
What do you usually do every day?
Selling
Yeah.
people service on their cars.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of done with that.
Service plans?
Well, no, like you bring your car into the shop and you tell me what's wrong with it. I tell
Oh,
you,
that.
I tell you what you need to do to fix it, and then you yell at me because it's too expensive.
If-
I like
if-
service.
Yeah, basically.
Standard transaction there, huh?
If you've got any questions about because I mean I'm a swine for this. I will assume an awful lot of knowledge. So if we're drowning you in like the aviation speak,
Yeah.
for the love of God, just stop us and say I didn't get that. There are no stupid questions.
No, and I'm probably going to have 1.5 million questions for
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
This is-
absolutely.
I just want to learn it, be a sponge, and do the best that I can do at this. So I'm going to have a lot of questions.
Absolutely, always ask. I mean, James and I are actually both instructors by trade, so you know we're more than happy to explain stuff. That's not an issue.
Yeah.
Even stuff around it that you're even just vaguely interested in. You know, take that simple, you know.
What's that thing on the plane?
Exactly.
And as you become more familiar with how the plane reacts and how it looks and where parts are and whatnot, when you get in the plane, if you see one piece like hanging down, dangling,
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing that.
Yes.
No, don't
Yeah.
Quiet out.
Yeah.
because
no stupid questions.
Gotcha.
No
It wasn't like that yesterday.
Exactly. Exactly.
Gotcha.
um,
No, it's always been a goal of mine to get my pilot's license eventually someday, so at least I'll get some little bit of knowledge along the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, hearing him, you hear all of his radio calls to ATC and stuff and all that. It does soak in. Even if you're not doing it.
for my explicit Cat 413.
Yeah, you
Perfect phrase.
you'll soak in the patterns of how they go back and forth and the phrases and everything, which will help you when you do start your training. Yeah. Any questions? Doug has been around aviation a lot, and obviously he's a pilot.
Right.
So if we're all like you're saying, talking about stuff that we're all getting, like, they seem to understand, but I don't understand.
I think we'll be in touch a lot. Just because you're close, and then he's close too.
Yeah, you're in Georgetown.
Mhm.
You're in Georgetown.
I'm
You're
in Austin.
You're in Austin, which is
I got here in 40 minutes. I think to get to Georgetown Airport, it's about 22 minutes. So
You must be quite north then.
yeah, I'm up just north of Mopac. So it's not too bad.
You born and raised here?
On
No,
the,
originally from Oklahoma City. Got family here, wife's here, kids are around.
you on the toll?
Right at I'm basically Mopac and Parma.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I just jump right on Mopac over to the 45 tollway over to 35, and good thing is coming up north in the morning, it's like you really don't have to deal with too much traffic, so that's gonna be nice.
Rudy's has pretty good breakfast tacos.
They usually go to Bill Miller.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. But the only thing they do good there is breakfast tacos. Otherwise, the barbecue itself's not very good.
Yeah. I used to live 3 miles from Georgetown Airport and we just moved. Now I'm 7 miles away.
So you said it is pretty common to be gone most nights and things like that. Is that right?
Oh, well, put it this way. Ever since they declared that they were going to base the aircraft in Georgetown 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, spent one night. The rest of the time's on the road. The problem is they've got this wonderful idea that we're going to base during the aircraft downtime. I don't think there's going to be any downtime. I mean, Sam seems to have work coming out of their ears and hot on the heels. I mean, you know, put it this way, they sent us an email with a 10-day schedule. It's like, so we're not going to have any downtime for 10 days now. We're just going to have to work 10, and we're talking about 11, 12-hour days here. We're going to do 10 of them on the bounce. So at some point, I'm going to have to put my foot down and say, you know what, I'm not doing 10 days straight. I'm going to have to have a day off here or a morning off or whatever. Because it's just dangerous.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's an endurance test as much as anything else. You know, you'll finish it probably because there is a saving grace in that we can't really do the LiDAR stuff at night. In theory, we can, but in practice, there's limits on the sun angle and all this kind of jazz. So realistically, you've got to be finished by sunset. So it puts a bookend on the end of the day. But realistically, we're going to finish at, I don't know, 7. What time have we been finishing? About 7, something like that, give or take.
Well,
sometimes after 6.
Into a hotel.
Into a
What would we
and
say
that's the
inside the
thing, isn't
airport
it?
or actually back into the hotel?
And that's the flip side because you've then got to book hotels. You know, you never know where you're going to be staying. So you then, when you finish at 6, half 6, 7 at night, you've then got to book a hotel. Then you've got to get to the hotel. So realistically, you know, you've been hitting the sack at 9:30, something like that. I've just been spark out until 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so this dock you have to give it power, so we've got an AC adapter that we plug in to there, and then there's a USB 3 cord that has, I forgot what this connector is called. Is it the B connector? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, but I can remember
Yeah.
which way around.
But it goes from this weird shape, which almost looks like the old printer cables, to the normal rectangle shape, which will go in the camera. This weird thing. Look, laptop. Reach. I'll show you copying the data we flew from yesterday. If I can get this charge. And the rule is that it never goes in your first try, even if it was oriented, right?
That's the quantum USB.
Sorry, man.
That's
So yours-
Yeah, they heard it. It's good.
That's the what?
The quantum USB connector.
Quantum?
You never heard that?
Uh-uh.
That's why they invented the C-type, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
You put
because
it one
it's
way,
never-
it wouldn't work. You put it the other way, it wouldn't work. You go back to the first way, and it works.
USB paradox.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It can always be in 2 states, right?
Yeah.
Not working and not working.
So these ones don't need their own power. They just use USB power. They've got one of those weird USB 3. I don't know why they do that. It's sort of like micro plus an extension of the micro USB.
Power.
Is that what it is? They split them
Yeah,
up?
because three carries a lot more power than 2 does. But you have to make sure you plug it into a 3-hole, not into a 2-hole.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
So the field backup, and then these are the shipping data ones, small shipping drives.
So they're all high speed on that side.
Yep, side 2. These are 1 terabyte. They'll either be new or they'll be reused ones that they've formatted and sent back out to you. This one's obviously used, so I'll put some notes on it. So I'll have to go on that side too.
There's so many of those hard drives you cannot imagine.
Yeah.
In the old Sam truck, they were just underneath the seats in the truck. They were everywhere.
It's hard to imagine.
Hundreds of those things.
Because they're not cheap. But
In Jimmy's office, there was
they
a
need
pile.
them.
There was a mound of them on the floor.
They need them, so. Okay, so I need to put one of those data drives in there.
Is there a cigarette lighter socket, like a power outlet in the plane?
Yes, but it ain't connected to anything.
There's an empty hole basically, right?
Yeah, and it's becoming a bit of an issue because we're burning through the iPad battery in less than a complete day.
Yeah, it might be worth having just put it in. You got an avionics guy that could do it pretty quick.
Yeah, it's like item 433 on the list of things to do.
Jay did say that is worth doing. I just don't know
Oh,
what.
it's definitely worth doing, and it's also worth having an up-to-date GPS database.
Yeah, do you know of anyone here that has the Sky Connect thing for the 430, 530 series of GPSs for the Jefferson updates?
To update the card reader?
To
The full
update-
30?
To update the nav database.
Yeah, these guys.
They do have one?
Yeah. But you have to, so Garmin used to allow avionics people to do the updates, and then they decentralized it because there was too many scams going on. Where avionics people were ripping people off. So what they did is they now force the owner of the GPS to have the account.
Yeah, that's fine.
You then have to give those details to the avionics guy who can put it, put it on the memory
Why
card.
they need the serial
Yeah.
number.
We need to get the serial number, so
Yeah, you can't, unless you know a way of getting the serial number out of the box itself, because I know it's on a sticker on the back.
I bet you it's on a menu somewhere.
Well, that's what we thought. They've said it might be in the aux, but it's not in the aux page. We've tried the secret power-up maintenance menu. It's not in there. I know for a fact it would be on it. We just need to take it out of the panel for 10 seconds, take a photo of the back and put it back. So we'll do that tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, talk to Rep. He's the avionics guy. Well, Rep and Hector. Rep's the top
Because
guy.
Georgetown only has GPS instrument approaches, so if they're IFR when we go in there, we're fine without that database. It's not ideal.
Yeah. I'm guessing that has WAS too, huh?
It is less, yeah.
yeah, 430, 530 loss.
Yeah,
That's useful.
the LPV does work, it's just the database is out of date. I'm sitting there flying 2 degrees off track because I know the thing's out of date.
Yeah.
Alright, so.
They just updated their cardinals and stuff, yeah. They just because the cardinal went for an instrument check ride. They had to have all the databases updated.
Oh, yeah.
They just had the 430s in there for the check ride. So
Yeah, so even if they just let us use the reader,
yeah.
then we can. Jay's trying to make an account to buy a one-time or a subscription or whatever.
Needs the serial number to make that happen.
Okay, so I've got. Right now I have the field backup plugged in, one of the smaller shipping drives plugged in. I have the docking station from the data recorder drive in it with one of the drives from the Lidar, one of the Lidar drives. When you open up my computer, they call it this PC now, you see I labeled this one field backup. This one isn't labeled. If you want to label it shipping drive or something, you can. So you're clear on what you're doing here before you do this. But you don't see the laser scanner hard drive right now. If you have the camera one, you do see it, but for some reason the laser one, you don't see it on here. To see them, you have to open up this program, SDF copy, that's on here. Which I put,
SDF,
the SDF, Delta, Sierra Delta Foxtrot. So I just put it so it's the next one down under the other ones you've used so far. You want to make, let's see if we go to the shipping drive. Oh, this still has old data on it. Yeah. You'll make a new folder and you're going to label it year, month, day. So 2018, the month is, put the 0 in there if it's a single digit so that it sorts it right if you've got multiple ones. 06 and then days with the third. 03. Okay, you can open that. Well, what you're going to do next is go into your Reigl projects folder. That's on. You've got the shortcut on the desktop that has your project files in it that you loaded up onto here before you even flew. What's the one we just flew? That was I-10. Just copy the whole thing over. Oops. I don't know what's doing. I was thinking about something. Anyway, you'll copy that whole folder over. There it is, okay. Then you'll take this, we'll open up another file browser. So right now I have this one open. Now I'm going to open the field backup. And it'll copy that folder that you just made and put the project info into and put that onto the field backup. So now you have that same folder on both drives. So you're taking it from the laptop and putting it on both of these with the project that you flew in there from the laptop. I don't know what it's like to work. Usually you see the thing with the progress while it goes along. When it does that, okay, there it goes. Then we STF copy. Yep. And then in STF copy, you can see inside the acquisition drive. Like I said, there are sort of two parts, sort of two drives within a drive. You're going to do both of them. Sometimes there won't be data on the second part. But we'll check that. So we'll click on whatever the first one is there. And we'll go these arrows here for next. And you can see a bunch of files here. There's one checkmark box for a selection here. It's called Preserve Directory Structure. I'm going to make sure that is checked. And it's always been pre-checked for me. I haven't had to click on it, but make sure that it is checked. And then input, you've got first and second output directories. You need at least one. We are going to do two, so we're going to make a copy from that acquisition drive, and we're going to put it onto both of these drives into the same folder that you just made on them for today. So you're going to click on here, and then you're going to make put it on where you want it to go. So we'll have one go to the shipping drive, 0603, that's today, I-10, and then you'll click on the folder that has the project, all the project file in it. Click OK. Do the same for the other drive. So I just did this drive, so I'll do it for field backup. Collapse that. Oh, I'm already in field backup. 0603. I-10 was the project we flew, and there's that folder that has all the folder directory within it, or has the RPP files. Okay. All right. And then make sure you didn't choose the same drive twice. See this? There's one D drive and one E drive. Right? If they're both E, you just selected the same drive twice. Okay. And then you would go. Okay. If you just hit next right now, it says please select files first. You need to select all the files in here. The quickest way to do that, I know, is just click on one and do Control A, which is the shortcut for select all. 18 files selected. Okay. Next one we'll start copying. And this might take 5 or 10 minutes to do this.
Okay. You pulled up That, in that hard drive right there, you've got 2 files in there, right? In that one?
When you first pull up SDF copy, you see 2 hard drives.
Right.
Yeah. And so I did the first one.
And you said the second one might not have anything on it.
The second one might not.
Right. So now, if you selected let's say you went back to that first step where we chose one out of the 2. You've opened it up to see that it's in there, I got that, right? But could you click on that first file and hit copy and then take it to those 2 without, you see what I mean? So it just transfers the whole folder?
If I only copied it to one drive,
No. Like, could you copy the entire file off the,
let me stop.
I think you're saying instead of hitting Control A, is there a file is that what you're asking? Instead of selecting all of them, is there
could you
one
just,
big
like
file?
in the beginning, could
Yeah.
you just take the one big folder?
Okay, hold on.
See, I don't think it
Okay.
shows it like
Yeah, like that right there.
Okay, so I've got this, yeah.
Could you just hit copy now?
No, this isn't a normal file explorer, like a normal.
Okay,
Windows
that's what
file
I'm asking.
explorer.
So you couldn't drag that right now to those 2
No,
files?
but, well, yeah, it's not a normal file explorer. It's I don't know what it is about the LiDAR drives.
I got you.
When we
I
get
got
to the camera drive, that is exactly what you do.
Right, okay.
You don't open it up in this. You just open it from like this PC, and then you
Right.
open up the folder, you find it, and then you can copy it right to where you
I
want.
got you.
Can you select both those drives at once? Does it let you do that?
No.
So you have to do one volume at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
If you did the other one, let's
might
see.
be- you said it
It
might
says
be
there's a
empty,
percentage used,
Right.
but let me just see here. Okay, there. If there's nothing on it, you won't see any files there,
Right, right.
and you won't be able to click next because it will say please select a file or please select files.
Now, is there a problem, like, if there's nothing on the second one, or is that just kind of like an overflow for the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was like one of those.
So if it does have information, you copy both of them, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. If there's copy everything you've got on there,
Right.
just don't miss.
To both the other drives.
Okay, then it'll dump stuff in there. If you were unsure, maybe you think it ended too fast or something, I don't know, you want to see if both drives got the same amount of data, you can open up the folders and see if they have the same number of files. You would go, like let me go to one of these ones that were already on here. I don't know whose data this is. Well, it would be in, it would have the same, hold on. Okay, it'll be the same directory structure. And so for any laser, the scanner data would be in Reigl Lidar. RXP channel 1, there are 5 files. If I go to channel 2, 5 files. So you could look at that in one drive and then, okay, look at the other drive. It should be the same number of files. Okay, now say we've done that for both parts of that drive. Pull that out, do that on the next LiDAR
2.
number 2, 2A or 2B or whatever. Yeah, if this is 2A, put in 2B, whichever ones you used. And you want to make sure that on your flight log here, that you noted which drives you used for the day. Okay. So when you put them all in there, in that case, you might get, oh shoot, which ones did I have in there? You just don't want to get mixed up. Okay, so you do the same with the other drive. Parts 1 and 2 of that. What I did the last time is in my little notebook thing like this, I sort of made LiDAR 2A, part 1 and 2, LiDAR 2B, parts 1 and 2, camera, parts 1 and 2. And then when I finished each of those, I checked them as I went along because of all all these drives are on. It's just yeah, a lot of drives in play. Okay, then let me switch out so you can see how the camera looks. Camera drive. 2. Oh, they said for this one you don't need to. You gotta unlock it. There's this little tab here, you push it, it springs out, and when you push it again, the drive shoves out enough for you to grab it. And then remember, you need to lock it, otherwise it won't read it. Sometimes I've opened up SDF copy for the LiDAR drives, the laser drives, and there's nothing shows up. So like after I wait a minute, close it and open it again, there it is.
Okay.
If you take a look too early, it might not recognize it yet. Okay, so now I have a camera one in, so when I go to this PC, I should see it. Yeah, here we go. So you see this one is our shipping drive here. Field backup A is this one, and then we have data storage 1 and 2. This one's showing us the two parts of that one data acquisition drive that I just put into that dock. So might as well start with 1. We would do whatever the same project was. All you'll have in there is a camera folder, but it matches the directory of the full project file folder directory where we had Reigl raw, camera raw, all that. So if you're going to take that whole folder that'll match the folder name of Cleveland. Here we go. It matches that. You're going to take this. Yeah. I don't want to go that way. But that's what you do. So you'd bring it over and you would let it copy into there. And it'll merge the folders into the way they have the directories, they have it so when you merge it, it'll put them in the right folders. It'll merge folders that have the same name. So you'll do that onto here we can do this one. Well, I don't have that. I didn't match the names. But you drag it over to your shipping drive, which in this one is labeled Seagate, and then do that for the I don't have one open anymore. The field backup. So you'll drag it over to each field backup and that one. Then that might take another 5 or 10 minutes for that to finish because it's big. Then it'll go. So that was data storage 1, copied to both drives. Data storage 2, do the same thing. Copy that over to both drives. So you'd go into the same, you would choose, in this one, pop a Cleveland and copy it over. The folders will merge again and add the files together. This says at this point you could format the drives if you want it on here, but again they recommended it is helpful to leave the data on there until you have to So then if we did this, we would keep this data on here. The next day, apply the other set of drives, and the project after that, alternate back to this set, format it within the browser when we put an ICANN and do that stuff. Okay. At the end, you can. It's good to do this safely remove thing, so you can eject everything. Do you know about the safely remove hardware thing? Okay. Do that for all of them. Unplug it.
Now, do you want us to be continuously recording, like whenever we're doing all the, copying of files and everything? Do you want it doing that whole screen recording at the same time to make sure that way, if they can see if we made a mistake or something like that, would it be beneficial to do it that way? Or
You could. You might want to stop the recording and then start a new one so that it's not. I don't know if it'll keep recording if you close the computer. What'll happen when it sleeps?
Probably sleep.
Probably sleep. But then, you'll be able to pick up again.
I mean, I don't know.
If you're going to leave it open for a while, not do anything, probably
Stop the recording.
You can pause a recording, so you could pause it so that it's still attached to the same flight.
Okay, I just didn't know if that'd be
Or
beneficial.
stop.
That way they can just see, if we made a mistake or something like that, or they can see all the files and
Better
they're like,
have
hey,
more.
we've copied them. You can see we did. It just didn't work for whatever reason.
Better to have more information than not enough information, sure. So at that point, you're set. So now you need to coordinate, you either talked about it or you need to talk about it, what to do with this drive, what we'll call a shipping drive. They're going to want this data. This is what's worth money to them at this point. So, like I said, so far we haven't had to ship it, but they said, we might be out if we're out, if there's a potential New York job coming up. If we're out
Where's
there,
a good place to
that's
sell
gonna
the
be
bootleg
shipping.
copies?
Yeah. Stand outside of Walmart and try to sell it. So after that, try to get, if you had to ship it, try to get to, I think FedEx is what they like. So try to get to FedEx, Uber or something, or maybe the airport has something for you.
They have FedEx accounts, so
Okay.
so he'll just give you their FedEx.
So,
account number.
we'll get a FedEx account, great.
Use this many time trying to find a FedEx before 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Exactly.
You try and use the same stuff the hard drive came in. That's what they sell it in, so it's pretty good to keep it safe. Put it in there, and then I don't know if they like the bubble mailer envelope, or I don't know. Have you dealt with
I
sending
think they
stuff
stick
to
in a
them?
box, just wrap some
A box one?
bubble around it. Yeah,
It's in it. Like I
it's
said,
worth too much money for the sake of a few extra dollars.
Yeah. And that's that. Oh, the other thing. Okay, I forgot to mention that before you unplug it. This flight log that you have. One helpful thing they say, and they do mention it in here, is to take a picture or scan it or something, and then get it onto the computer somehow, and put it into that same project file, that same dated folder that you have on both drives.
Okay.
In your backup and the one you're sending to them. If you forget, then you can just take a picture of it and email it to Craig or text it to him. But they do like that tied in there with it. So they have all those lines, the times you wrote down, any issues you had in the comments. Hey, this happened at this time. Reflew that line. That's going to get that.
Now, who was the guy that was with him that one day that gave you the notes?
Oh, that gave me notes. His name was Johnny. We have John O. John O, he goes by, his last name is John Oates. And Johnny was this Irish guy who works out of Creech Air Force Base, flies Predators and whatnot, unmanned stuff.
Is he a SAM guy or is he the
No, he's
Reigl guy?
he's some connection that James had as a potential guy to help with sensor ops.
He's a dirty, filthy civilian contractor out there. He's probably not active anymore.
This guy?
Yeah, but
Look, he's still active there.
he's still active duty.
He was saying
No,
that
I
maybe
mean,
he could help out in his off times or something.
well, is he active duty though? See,
Oh, active
most of those
duty.
guys, most of those guys step right into a civilian slot and they stay there, so.
He's saying when he gets out, he might, find some civilian. Well, so what?
What's that?
His name's Johnny. I don't know his
Yeah,
last name.
I'm gonna call a friend of mine, so see if he knows it.
That's it.
Did you work with the company directly?
Who?
With this is this your first experience
With Sam?
with the LiDAR stuff we're dealing with today?
No, I worked with Sam quite a lot.
Right. I thought you
No,
had.
I didn't work for Sam. I was contracted by the aircraft company, who was contracted by Sam as a chain. But I've dealt with Sam directly a lot. They're different faces now. Craig is newer.
Have you met him?
I spoke to him, but I've never met him. Jimmy was the last acquisition manager for like 17 years or something crazy.
The other guy, Matt, I don't know what his position is, but he deals with more of the actual data.
Yeah, Matt is the head data guy.
Okay.
He's very pale skinned because they all sit in the dark.
Goes to his room,
Dark room,
never comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a huge team of data manipulators.
That go over all that stuff, huh? That's a lot of stuff.
Acquisition is the most valuable. Sorry, acquisition is the most critical part, but it's the quickest piece of the chain.
Of the chain, huh?
The magic happens in the back end where they put all that data and they create this really beautiful 3D suite of whatever it is.
I was in the one of the Intel shops over in Iraq, and I was telling them they can take those pictures, those photos, and correspond it to the laser information, right? I mean, to where it's perfect, the model. And they had a sniper who was very effective. Somehow the ground intel guys had
On the other
measured.
team.
What's that?
On the other team.
What do you mean other team?
Sniper.
Yeah, on the bad guy. Yeah, the other team, but the bad guys had a sniper, and he was doing pretty good. So the intel guys on the ground, I guess whoever did the measurements, but they measured something and kind of got where they thought the angle might come from, right? So based on the trajectory and everything from this, they used that LiDAR data, and it's just slowly removed this building, this building, this building, this building, until they got it down to where it only could be one building. They dropped a JDAM on it and got him. So it can be manipulated that way to where it had to come from there, which was pretty cool. The guy showed me how we use it.
Another resolution on the Trimble LiDAR was 3 inches. So the laser point would be every 3 inches.
Wow. So, but
then they would like map and interpolate between those to get the right contours, take out trees.
Yeah. Or they could build that right there in front of you on the computer, and then they determined that that's the only building it could have come from. And they dropped a JDAM on it. It got him, or it never happened again. I'm gonna put it that way. The guy might have said, "Oh shit, I quit."
Yeah, Sam's a pretty big organisation.
Well, I was wondering because I think I had him confused. Why I asked you who was the guy that gave you the notes, because I thought maybe I had him confused that he was there that day too. You know what I mean? But the day that guy was here.
I only met the guy that installed it.
Okay.
I'd never seen before.
Did he have an accent?
No, he was pretty tall though. He seemed pretty tall.
Maybe that was Craig.
Although he was kind of curled up in the back of the plane,
Craig's pretty tall, maybe.
trying to get it bolted down. I don't think it was Craig.
Questions? Crystal clear? Ready to go?
I'm sure they'll come up as we go.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Well, I don't have any questions now. Have some fun. The other part of this is the weather station stuff, which I'll show you how to set up. This recording here, okay. Let's go through how to close this. So I clicked on the blinky red and green dot there.